morning and happy Tuesday, 10 at 10. It's Christmas and the end of the year is very close by. So, next time we'll talk will be next year. So, I'm your host and bakery influencer, Richard Charpentier. And every Tuesday we gather to answer your questions. So let's get started. Our first question today is someone asking if calcium propionate keep the bread softness from drying out anti-stelling agent, or is this to prevent mold? Calcium propionate is propionic acid, and its sole purpose is to basically lower the pH and help fight with mold preservation or any mold problems in a bakery. But it only helps to prevent or slow down the growth of mold. But the first key to preventing mold into a bakery is to have a very, very good and solid sanitation program. As all breads and cakes, they are sterile coming out of the oven. It's what we do after that will contribute to the issue. So to answer your question, no, it's not gonna help with starch retrogradation and stilling of starch. It's going to only help you with the prevention of potential mold on your products. So thank you very much for sending the question. Now for our second question, it's about sedimentation test. Could you please discuss about the science, chemistry behind the sedimentation value in flour? So sedimentation test, I did some initial research on sedimentation test. I've been in the industry. I graduated from K-State. I heard of it, but it's not something that's being used in commercial bakeries, large industrial bakeries in America or in Europe. It might be used. And what I found is that the sedimentation test is commonly used by manufacturer of steamed and fried noodles as one to check the flour quality specification. So, and overall, it's a test. A sedimentation test is a procedure that takes water bath. There's a water bath temperature maintained at 35 degrees Celsius rather than, because there are two differences of tests, rather than 50 Celsius. They take a 5-gram sample of flour and they place it into a 100 milliliter graduated cylinder and 50 milliliter of 0.2 lactic acid and at 35 degrees Celsius. And the cylinder is then capped, shaken by hand for 10 seconds, an additional 50, and then they add it gradually, and they want to measure the amount of sedimentation as a test. So overall, it's an indicator of flour quality for noodles and fried noodle products and manufacturer. It doesn't really show a strong value, as I can know, and some people can add to the conversation if they want to, but it's not a test that brings value to industrial bread manufacturers in America, as most of them will either use the farinograph or the alveograph as a method to interpret their flour quality for their production. So thank you for sending that question. Sorry I couldn't really get into more details with you. So now for our last question of the day, we have someone wanted to know, how do modified starches improve the bread texture? So modified starches are starches that are either modified through physical or chemical modifications. And they're now the starch manufacturers, by creating a modification, can change the functionality of the starches. So, for example, I'm just giving you some examples of what the functionality can become. They can improve process tolerance to heat, acid, and shear. For you could make fillings or anything like that, and with a high shear, so the starch do not break down. Uh, they can extend the shelf life stability. So it's basically what we're asking, and it's starch retrogradation is about also recrystallization of the starch particles and in part losing water. By being able to hold on to the water a little longer, it will benefit the shelf life. Sort of, it's basically going beyond its the capabilities of natural starches, and that's why the modification becomes a positive for bakers. Like a lot of the starches are not soluble, so to be able to make cold water starches, it's through again modification. You can change hot viscosity and change the gel strength of a starch through modification. They can also make starches being more film forming. So you probably in gluten free, that would be quite advantageous. And also with freeze thaw stability. So to allow manufacturers to produce in advance or store products for longer without compromising the eating experience of your product. So modified starches really come in handy. I recommend for those interested in modified starches to reach out to your ingredient manufacturers and ask what they have available for you and whether or not it's a chemical or physical modification. As now your label, instead of, let's say if you have a cornstarch, for example, is going to have to be labeled as modified cornstarch. It's no longer cornstarch. So just as an FYI, in the US rules. So I don't know about other countries. And that is it for today. So again, happy New Year to all of you. And I will see you next year in 2023. So happy holidays to all of you and happy Tuesday. And I'll see you next year. Take care. Bye bye.